Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Parent Talk at Discovery Center podcast. My name is Barbara Culbertson. I am the program manager for Family Strengthening Families. And joining me today is...
I'm Veronica King, the systems navigator here at the Discovery Center. And I am a wife and a mother of a preschooler.
And I am Roy Ann Bell, and I am the project manager for Project Care. I am a wife, mother of two, and I'm here at the Discovery Center.
Hey, my name's Catherine Hint. I am the intern at the Discovery Center for Family Strengthening Families and Project Reach. I come from a little bit of a bigger family. I have 3 siblings, and we all grew up with our mom.
I'm Evelyn Taylor. I am a senior at Mississippi State University, and I'm also an intern at the Discovery Center, and I help with the various projects here. And I'm the youngest of 2 kids, and I grew up with my mom and my dad.
Wow. Great. So welcome, everyone. We're so happy to have all of you with us on today. Just looking at, we have this wide range of experience on the podcast today. Of course, I have an older son, and he's in he's 30. He turned 30. I'm getting old. But we also have some young blood with us today. So we are so excited. They don't have any children. They're doing things in the right order. They're getting their education first. And so we're happy to have them. They're going to give a perspective on today from our topic as it relates to, the child's perspective or the young person's perspective. When we're talking about, let me just go ahead and share our topic today. We're going to be talking about parenting with love, using the 5 love languages. Parenting with love, using the 5 love languages. Love is a universal language. It really is. And so we want to make sure that we are letting our children know that we love them. And many times what we find out is that when we are talking or sharing with our children, what people normally do, the way they know love, that's how they'll be expressing love. And so we want to just encourage everyone to kind of just pay attention today when we go through these love languages. First, let's talk about this, okay? So I'm just going to ask the 2 young people today, how do you know that your parents love you? How do you know it? Either one of y'all just jump right in do your parents love you?
They do.
All right.
My mom, my mom has done a really great job at communicating that she loves us. And one of the ways that she does that is knowing specifically what our love languages are. She has 4 kids. And so knowing what their love languages are, how they feel supported and how they feel loved is one specific way that she is able to show us in our own way how we are loved.
All right. So Evelyn, I'm pretty sure your mom and your dad loves you too. You're still here. You seem to be a pretty happy child. So just how down through the years, how have they been able to let you know, other than saying I love you, let you know that they love you?
Yes, my parents do love me. I appreciate it very much. One of the biggest ways growing up that I felt their love and saw their love was through the love language quality time, because both me and my older brother were homeschooled from preschool all the way until we graduated high school. So obviously we spent a lot of time with our parents at the home, and they always let us know through their words and their actions by spending that time with us and making sure that we were getting a good education. And I'm going to be honest, there were a lot of days where I'd be crying over algebra or crying over chemistry, and they definitely just communicated their love to me in that they stayed right by my side, that they put in the work beside me, and then they were going to make sure that I learned everything, and they stuck it out with me along the way.
All right. So you were kind of like in what we'll say for lack of a better word, culture shock when you got to Mississippi State. And now you have these huge classrooms full of people, and those lecture halls had to be like overpowering because, you know, being homeschooled to having all these people in your classes. Yeah.
Well, I actually dual enrolled at East Mississippi when I was in high school. That way I could get quote unquote classroom experience. So I worked my way up to the 300, 400.
Okay, wow.
Class at state.
All right, so that was good. That was great. That's great. I noticed that you all started mentioning the 5 love languages, and so we'll get into them. This is something that we can't take credit for it. Gary Chapman has a book out that he wrote, did the research, and developed this list of 5 love languages, and so. I'm just going to list them, and then we'll kind of talk about each one, talk about, you know, that particular love language. But basically, there are 5 love languages: gifts, acts of service, quality time, words of affirmation, and physical touch. And so I'll just start with the first one, gifts. With the gifts, what we have is, you know, it's not really about the dollar amount or the, you know, you could buy something for someone that's $1 or something that's $500. It's just that you're giving them something from yourself, you know, just the idea that you thought enough of them to buy them something. You know, I have an uncle, and his favorite candy is a Butterfinger. And so we could just buy him, you know, a Butterfinger, put it on his desk, and he is like, wow, it's like we bought him a gold ring or something, and it was a Butterfinger from Dollar General. So yeah, you know, so the when you're buying gifts for someone, if that's their love language, then you know, then that's how they know that you love them. I guess I should back up for just a minute and say, a lot of times what we're doing is, when we're showing love or saying that we love someone, we will do it in a way how we know love. And so that may not be that person's love language. Because I was just thinking, you know, my son, he announced to me one day that I didn't love him. And that's why I was playing with you young ladies, you know, because I love my son. But he said I didn't. He was maybe, you know, 5th grade or something. You know, he was still in elementary, and you just don't love me. And I'm like, man, what are you talking about? You little person. And I know that I love him, but I wasn't showing him in a language that he understood. His language was quality time, and I wasn't giving him that. So, so we want to be mindful of that when we're working with our children and trying to let them know that we love them, that we're communicating it in their language. So let's just see. So Veronica, why don't you kind of share, you know, what acts of services is and as a love language, and how we can use that to show our children that we love them.
Well, let me just start off by saying, Ms. Barbara, I guess growing up, I didn't know the term, you know, that love language acts of service. I wish I did, because I probably would have used that a lot with my mom. But acts of service is just, you know, you doing something for your child. By not just saying that you love them, we say we love them, but sometimes they want to know, they want to see that put into action. So when we're talking about the love language of acts of service, you know, cooking a meal that they like, you know, sometimes you set up a certain day per week, you know, meatless Monday, Taco Tuesday, you know, well, maybe they enjoy tacos and it's not Tuesday. Maybe you can just do tacos on Friday because that's their favorite food. You know, their favorite foods, making their bed for them, doing a chore that they normally would do. If you have multiple children, you know, you can pick a chore for each child, you know, help them out, just showing them that you love them in action, not just in the hugs or by saying it, by doing something that you probably normally wouldn't do, but just going the extra step and doing something to show that in action.
Exactly. You know, because you want to be speaking their language, you know, because I was just thinking earlier, you know, like if Roy Ann was speaking like Japanese and we're speaking English, we we need her to speak English to us. We don't know what she's talking about. We don't know Japanese, and so we need to be able to in order to communicate effectively, be using the language of that person. And so, Roy Ann, I think let's just talk about quality time and what that means, and how could a parent show quality time to their children.
Yes, ma'am. Certainly. My love language is quality time. Quality time. I value that more than gifts, more than all those other things. Just that time that you set aside to be with someone, specifically with that someone. Mm-hmm. And so, with our children, that could be something like a date night for mommy, daddy, not mommy, daddy, but mommy, daughter date night, or mom, son date night, or luncheon, or just go spend some quality time together, just you and that child. You may have 5 children, but you may put aside some time for each child just to focus specifically on that child and spend time, and there will be quality time between you and the child. And we remember things like that, from our childhood that are special to us. And so quality time could be, bedtime reading. Quality time could be going for a bike ride together, or spending an afternoon just sitting by the lake, just you and that child, spending that time, quality time. And sometimes it doesn't have to be anything long and drawn out, or it could be every afternoon or evening, you and your daughter or son, you have that time where you just catch up with each other and say, hey, what's going on in your life? Or, what happened at school? Sometimes, you have to prod kids. You just can't ask one answer questions. You have to keep asking questions and just letting them know that you are interested in them. Mm-hmm. That quality time is something that they'll remember forever.
Right, exactly. And I think that's my son's that is his love language. And a lot of times the way that they're showing you love, it is an indication. You may not be able to get your child to take there is a test that Gary Chapman has developed, to be able to determine what the love language is for that person. But you may not be able to get them to do that. So just how are they trying to show you love? That would be an indication to you of their love language. And so if they're trying to spend time with you and you don't have time, in the case like with my son, and he was like, hello, I'm here, I still need some attention. And so he wanted to do something. And so, then he would start like doing things at school. And so that's going to get some negative attention because I'm going to get some time. So then I had to, kind of get, I've kind of started figuring out, I didn't know all of this back then, but I kind of started figuring out, if I don't do something, he's going to do something. So I need to spend some time with him positively without, him having to act up at school to get some attention. So yeah, quality time is very, very important, Royanne. And I think one of the things we talked about is, how you have your planner, put your children in there, plan. I heard you say something about taco night or whatever. Put that in your calendar. This is what I'm going to do with my child, and nothing else can interfere with that. So do some things like that. Quality time is another good one. So Catherine, words of affirmation.
Yes, words of affirmation are so important for kids to hear. So things like not just saying like, hey, I love you, but affirming from them like, hey, you are loved. You are strong. We are proud of you. Words of affirmation is my love language. And one of the ways that my mom really showed me that she loved me was not only just saying I love you, but kind of reframing things that she was saying to make them a little bit more positive. So instead of saying negative things like, that was a really stupid decision, or, hey, what you said was really rude, we can reframe those things and rephrase them to say like, hey, next time be kinder with your words.
Mm-hmm.
Or, hey, let's think through decisions before we start to make decisions. And so that words of affirmation love language is more than just saying, hey, I love you, hey, I'm proud of you. It's rephrasing some of the negative things that we're saying into more of a positive way, because people with words of affirmation love language really take those negative words and they replay them in their head over and over and over again. And so we need to make sure that we're using positive language around our kids in any way that we can to make sure that they are feeling loved if they have a words of affirmation love language.
Spoken from the young person that is her love language, words of affirmation. And so, yeah, that's all of that is absolutely correct. You want to reaffirm them, and that means so much to them. And so let's see, Evelyn, you have physical touch. You have that good one. All of them are good. But in a time, during a time when we cannot really touch people like we used to, because we're having to social distance, this has to be very, very trying, a very, very trying time for people whose love language is physical touch. So talk to us about that.
Yeah, so physical touch is my personal love language. But with children who have the love language physical touch, they feel their parents' love in a very tangible and hands-on way. So just as Catherine was discussing with words of affirmation, like they're feeling their parents' love through the words that are being poured over them, which is super important. But with kids who have the physical touch love language, they feel it. So whether that's through a hugging is a very popular way to show love through physical touch, but kisses, holding hands. Sometimes parents think of holding hands as just a safety factor, like, here, let me hold your hand while I'm crossing the street. But kids who feel their parents' love through physical touch, they just love any kind of touch from their parents that is just showing them that they care. Another way that you can show physical touch to your child is through back scratches or back rubs. I have a younger cousin, and she's a physical touch love language as well. And something that she loved is when her mom was reading her a story at night to go to bed, her mom would scratch her back while she was reading. And that just meant the world to my cousin. She really felt that love. But also, during that time of quality time, whether you might be reading a book to your child, have your child sit in your lap and just be close to you or be near to you, or have little afternoons where you can have snuggle time or take naps together and things like that. And even like something simple as a high five. Children who have that physical touch desire for love, it's going to mean the world to them.
Yeah, right, exactly. And so, I was just thinking, but it has to have been even more traumatic for children during this period whose love language is physical touch. And so and this is why, even with parents, it is even so important, if that's your child's primary love language, because they're really not able to get a lot of these things like from other people, because we have to social distance. So really the only physical touch would be pretty much narrowed down to that household, and so yeah, it's very important. Physical touch is great. I was thinking about sometimes I binge watch Hallmark Christmas movies. And I was just thinking, Evelyn, when you were talking about this one movie during the holidays, and there was this nanny that had gone to take care of this little girl. And so they had asked her the question, I think, what advice would she give to parents about, how they would, interact with their children. What advice would she give parents? And she said, well, I think if it was only one thing, that I would say, give your children a kiss every night, even, when they go to bed, even if they're asleep. even if they're asleep. And that was a touching scene in that movie. And this particular night, the father, some things had happened, and the father went to the little girl's bedroom, and he gave her a kiss on the cheek, just on the cheek. And she was pretending like she was asleep, but when he left, she was just smiling. It just melted her that her father remembered her. To some people, that may not have been a lot, but to that little girl that night, it meant something. And so if we're going to really be able to really bond with our children, we have to be communicating this love that we have for them. And I think that's why we wanted to start off with our, this is I believe is our second podcast, but we wanted to make sure that we are communicating to our children that we love them unconditionally. I think you talk about this, Veronica, sometimes, even if they make mistakes, because they're gonna make mistakes. They're not going to be perfect children. We're not perfect parents. But even if they make mistakes, we still can love them. Loving does not mean that I don't discipline or correct, because you still do that. But you still have to let them know that even if they made a mistake, even if they messed up, I still love you. In some kind of way, we got to make sure we get that message across to our children, so that we're bonding with them and we are having some great times together, and they really know that you love them and that you care, so that we can be able to deal with some other things and other issues as it relates to parenting. Because if they think you don't care about them, nothing you're going to do is going to work. Ryan, is that correct?
That is.
Yeah, it's not going to work. Love makes it all work. So if, you don't care about me, so why am I listening? I have no respect for you. You have no respect. Love really sets everything else in motion. I really had to get that out of my system today. Didn't I have to do it? Anybody else have anything else you want to share with the audience today before we end, on love?
I would like to share just this one little incident where when we were on lockdown, grandparents, you couldn't see grandparents. And one of the innovative things that family did was they built a plastic wall where the children got to put their hands through in gloves and touch their grandparents. So sometimes you have to be creative when you're thinking about, how can I reach this child's heart? How can I show my love?
Yeah, that was a good one, Ryan. That was a good one. Yeah. Anybody else?
Miss Barbara, I was just gonna say, I like when you mentioned that, we have to recognize our children's own love language, and because it might be completely different from ours, but recognize it, know it, and don't try to impose our love language on our children. And that's going back to, when I was talking about the acts of service, I was saying, I wish my mom, like, we knew that when I was younger, because we didn't have anybody do our chores for us. Like, I would have loved that, but, the physical touch and all that we received, but I don't think we received the acts of service. Love, maybe that wasn't our love language, but I would have loved to have known about that then, but just making sure that we, like I said, we know our children's love language, and be open and accepting of it. Like Catherine mentioned, being supportive of our children, even if it's something, opposite of our own.
Yeah. I think I was reading somewhere that I think they say that probably words of affirmation is the number one love language of children. And, not to say that the other ones are not important, but if you don't know what your child's love language is, then try that one. Since most likely, because people, because we're human beings, we kind of, even though we may not say it, we want you to notice when we do something good. We want you to notice, there's something unique and special about me, and so we want to make sure with our children that we do that. build them up. That's one thing my great grandfather did for me. And I guess, I don't know, I've kind of gone through phases. And I guess when I was younger, words of affirmation probably was mine. And he just told me I was so unique and special. I thought really, Catherine, I was. So, when I got to school and they would call me, I started wearing glasses and they just called me cat out in 4 hours. I was like, oh, he taught me about that. That's their problem, not yours. And I was like, okay, because I thought he knew everything. And he just built me up. And so I think bullying never really stuck with me, because he made me feel special through words and his actions. And I knew if nobody else in the world loved me, he did. He really did. Yeah. So any one of you young ladies have any final comments before we end?
I would like to add something to keep in mind, is that most of the time, like, your primary love language is the way that you receive love and also show love to others. However, that's not always the case.
Mm-hmm.
A big example might be that someone might show love to others through gifts,
Mm-hmm.
but they might not like to receive them at all. Or like the same thing with acts of service, like they're always constantly, doing acts of service for others. But when other people do acts of service for them, that makes them feel uncomfortable, or they're like, oh, I don't know, like they don't necessarily feel that love. So most of the time, like we've talked about, like the primary love language that you have is the way that you receive love, but also give love. But it can also be another one as well. So that's something to just kind of keep in mind when you're figuring out how to show love to your child, but also how your child might show love to you as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So, and just know that we're all unique and different. I have someone in my family that's one of those touchy feely huggy people. I'm not. I don't. We don't have. I was fine during the pandemic. Now, I had started doing more tugging and touching and stuff like that because she married into our family, and she's this hugger. And so, and about the time I started getting used to hugging, the pandemic hit. So I got okay with, not hugging pretty quick, but, she had a difficult time because she loves physical touch. Well, I have enjoyed being with you ladies on today, even the young perspective, and letting us know how, you ladies have come from, seems like, some very loving families that have, been very good for you. So, yeah. And so fortunately for you all, now we do know that there are times, for whatever reasons, that, sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes children are having to grow up in families where, there's maybe they're doing a lot of working, and so they're not able to be, with their children all the time. Guess what? You still have to make time to show your children that you love them. You may not have an ideal situation, maybe not even live in the same household with your children, but you still have to make time to show your children that you love them. And so, even if they live on one coast and you're on another coast, you still have to make time to show your children that you love them according to their love language. And so time and space, love can travel through time and space. I think that's what I want to end by saying. Yeah, it can travel through time and space. So you can be in San Jose, California, and your child could be, in Jackson, Mississippi. And you can still let your child know you love them. You can do things so your child will know that you love them. Anyway, so we have had a time today here with our podcast. We will be publishing to our YouTube channel every second and fourth Wednesday. So we look forward to the next one. And until next time, have a good one. Bye-bye.